Yes, people, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. This is Tottenham Takes. It's episode 8. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love with the people that you love doing them with. It's been a long day of streaming, but every single second of it has been worth every single point that we've just taken from the Newcastle and stolen from the people above us. We're back in it. Or are we? We don't know. We got so much to break down, so much to figure out. What happened today that didn't happen against the spammers? What almost happened against Villa Park? What did happen against City? What's going on with Tottenham Hotspur? We're going to talk about the whole thing. We got 3 people joining me. 2 of them are here right now. We're going to get straight into it, guys. Before we get them into the house, I need you to do me one favor. Actually, 2 or 3 favors. One is smash the like button for me. You know you got to do it. It really helps the channel. It helps everybody find everybody else. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. And even if you have subscribed, then double check that you're still subscribed, because YouTube are doing all sorts of, I don't know, trickery. They're nutmegging people. Just like Porro nutmegged. Who was it today? Who did he nutmeg today? Was it Almiron? I'm not sure. Anyway, do that. Make sure you also get over to the boys whose titles are in the description and in the title. And let's get everyone getting their subscribers up. Let's bring Henry right in. And Deji, what's crack-a-lacking, boys? How are you, Deji? I'm going to start with you, mate. What's going on, my boy?
My brother, it's a pleasure to be back. I feel like it's been an age since I've been back on the show. But you know what? I do want to say this. And, you know, when we win, we should be showing each other love. But I have to say to you and Henry, I told you so. All you had to do, guys, was just wait and have a little bit of faith and let Richarlison show you what he can do. And I'm just glad. I'm not saying that I've been vindicated just yet, but I'm not going to lie. I was.
Oh, this is on the Richarlison train.
Not 1, but 2 goals today. And for me,
could have had 4, by the way. Could have had 5.
He could have had 4 or 5, but you know what? It was nice that he got 2, and hopefully that will give him the confidence that he needs for us to pull on. The other thing is, let's just be honest, and this is not me shaking my bum violently. The truth of the matter is we play the best football in the league. We just haven't been finishing off our dinner, and it was about time a result like this was coming, and I'm just so glad it happened now against Newcastle, because I ain't going to lie, I was shitting myself a little bit before the game. So, look, I'm happy. I'm in a good mood, and I hope that we can kick on. And it's that little dusty couple of weeks that we've just had is history. That's what I'm hoping for.
Love that. Love that, Deji. I'm going to have to take you to. I didn't realize you were going to come in and start throwing arrows at those that have maybe doubted King Rich. We'll have to talk about this throughout this. I didn't see that was coming.
Hang on, King Rich.
Well, I don't know. That's
what are we doing here? What are we doing
here, Henry? How are you, mate? Yeah. Well, let's start with how you're doing, and then we're going to talk about King Richie the Third. It could have been King Richie the Second. It could have been King Richie the Fifth had he finished his dinner that he had put on his plate all first half. Didn't quite get there, but. Listen, not taking anything away. I thought it was fantastic. Before we get into him, Henry, how are you, mate? How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. But King Rich is a bit like R9, yeah. Richie Rich, but King Rich, yeah. But man, I'm good. 4-1, always a good day when you get 3 points, especially one of our Champions League, you kind of rival, someone else who's competing for that spot. But yeah, I mean. We just got to follow it up now for a win against Forest, and then we'll be absolutely hunky-dory.
Listen, I don't want to go through the whole game because, you know, Henry, I spent the whole afternoon with you. I feel like anybody who's probably in the house, there's 230 people. I feel like everyone's probably heard a lot of individual performances. I want to talk more around bigger picture stuff and maybe speak a little bit more around players that didn't get as much of the juice as from the squeeze in terms of acknowledgements today. But Deji, I want to start with you, mate. 4-1 winners. Who were the? I mean, I think that everyone played well. I don't know if you would disagree or not, but I thought everyone did their job to a degree. But where's your love been positioned from today's performance?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know. I've seen that you've done, some shows earlier, but you've got to put some respect on Pape Sarr. I think it's no coincidence that he comes back in. We look a lot more solid, and we're taking our chances. The other thing that I noticed as well is that obviously Postecoglou, such a man of the people, he's obviously been watching our show on a Sunday evening, because I've not wanted to see Brennan Johnson on the left again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you said that before.
I didn't want to see it, and putting him back on the right hand side. But the other smart thing that he did, that I think, and I think it's more about Postecoglou and the flexibility that he's shown, because I think all the boys played well. Newcastle are a bunch of barbarians. Let's just be real. They come with this physical game. We're going to tear your head off. That sort of football. So that playing Son in the kind of number 9 as the striker position, Son, that's not his game. Up against Lascelles and Shah, it would have been long for Son. He weren't going to get any space. This guy would have been breathing fire and brimstone on his neck. So what he's done is he's put Richarlison in the firing line. You occupy both Shah and Lascelles, which allows Son on the left to get the space, because Richarlison on the left or Brennan Johnson on the left are not smart enough and not savvy enough, dare I say it, to get past Trippier. Let's be real, Trippier, we still got to respect him. He's still a top right back. But putting Son against Trippier is a stroke of genius, because there is no way in that guy's life, even if he played out his skin, is he going to stop Son. And that really was the difference today. Son on the left, whipping the balls in, causing havoc, Trippier out of the game, and that was the smart thing. Pape Sarr also coming in, I thought was brilliant. And putting Brennan on the right-hand side was a very, very good move. That's what I thought I saw with our manager today.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'd like to ask you, let's start with Sonny then. I 100% agree, right? Like he put, I think Henry said it in the watch along. What did you say, mate? He's going to wake up tomorrow morning and
Trippier's going to wake up tomorrow morning with Son at the end of his bed, because he's that far. He owes Trippier a fiver for just living rent free in his head. Yeah. So it's as simple as that. He had him on absolute skates.
But was this a tactical decision that is momentary? That is a tactical thing, right? Tottenham Hotspur fans generally, and I'm speaking to, I don't know, there's 300 of you in the chat. I'm speaking to at least probably 30% of you that confuse Tottenham's philosophy with a tactic. And they think that when it goes wrong, Ange Ball is stubborn and restricted and it's unipolar and all this stuff. But when it goes right, it's the greatest things in sliced bread. There's a difference in my mind between the philosophy and the tactic. The tactics do change intra-game. The tactics change at half-time. Sometimes he gets the substitutions right. Sometimes he gets them wrong. But today was a demonstration of the philosophy maintaining consistency, but the tactics changing. But what I want to ask you guys is Sonny on the left, is that a momentary tactical change based on, to your point, Deji, based on Trippier, trying to curtail that threat, trying to pin him back because Sonny's our best movement going forward? Or is that now a shift back to what we were doing, pre-Postecoglou, which was, and pre-Harry Kane's departure, which was Sonny out on the left because that's where you got to shoehorn him. Is this Sonny for now, for going forward, or is this just a momentary thing?
Do you know what? I would say that the kind of injuries, now looking at it with a little bit of hindsight, it's been a bit of a blessing and a curse. And what do I mean by that? He's been forced to experiment and try new things, different things. I'm stating the obvious, but I think it's an option. I don't think it's a temporary thing. I think there'll be certain games, especially when we're going on and playing teams who are very physical, quite aggressive teams, where Son could be an option on the left. And look, if Richarlison's good in the air, and if he can start finding his feet and banging in goals, that's a credible option for Spurs. The other thing that I also want to mention in this kind of temporary system is that Kulusevski is a madman in that number 10. He is an absolute, what a replacement. For me, it works. I don't know if you noticed the way he spins, he turns, he's aggressive, his physicality.
Best position, best play. His best form is in that role for me.
I prefer him in the number 10 than I do with him on the right. He was just causing Newcastle all sorts. And also, he just occupies that middle area. So for me now, what you're seeing is, in the game, Postecoglou has the option. I could go with Richarlison. I can go with Son on the left. I can go Koulibaly on the right. I can, and what that does is it creates a new headache and a new dimension. I don't think Eddie Howe was prepared for Son being on the left. He wasn't. And actually,
I agree.
So bringing this fluidity means that teams now are not so sure. We used to be a bit more predictable. You know, it's Koulibaly left. It's going to be Son on Koulibaly right, Son left, blah, blah, Richarlison, very boring. Okay, let's just do this. Now with the fluidity going on, even in the midfield, you don't know if you're going to get Pape Sarr. You don't know if it's going to be Højbjerg. I think we were all shocked to see Lo Celso not start. But again, masterstroke, he keeps them guessing. And for me, Postecoglou, that is the mark of a great manager. When the opposition ain't got a bloody fog of what you're going to do next. And I think that's the biggest strength. In this whole period where we've been going through the heat, we've been going through the furnace, we're now seeing new dimensions to our team, new dimension to our players. Who would have thought Kulusevski number 10? Who would have thought, Brennan, I think it's an option, basically, is what I want to say in a nutshell.
Welcome. I appreciate that, Deji. Welcome to the show, Jack. Before I come to you, mate, Henry, Sonny on the left. Was it a momentary tactic? Or was it the shift back to a bygone era where a lot of Tottenham fans, or some Tottenham fans wanted, some Tottenham fans didn't, to see Sonny? I mean, he was fantastic, right? He was absolutely sensational, going at one of the, if not the best right back in the Premier League. You put him on toast all day. And I just don't know. I don't know whether to expect him going forward or whether it was just a thing because Brian Hill, because Brennan Johnson couldn't do the same thing against someone as good as Kieran Trippier. What do you
he's the
expect
best winger at the club, isn't he? Let's be honest. And he's carried the football club on his back for years and years. If Richarlison's not fit, I still think somehow Hill would get on the left and someone would go back up front. Richarlison, he obviously looked at it and said Newcastle's centre-backs in Lascelles and I can't remember who played next to him aren't
Fabian Schär.
Yeah, they're not the quickest. I don't think they're that great in the air. I think Richarlison run like an absolute pit bull today. He worked hard. He ran in behind. He's a tough player to play against because he's just a nightmare. He's always in your ear. He's winding up players. He's winding up managers. But Son today had Trippier on absolute toast. Trippier couldn't get near him. And like I said to you on the watch now, I feel like Trippier is probably wishing he stayed with us because that today I looked at Newcastle and thought, I think there's problems there. I don't think that's a Newcastle we saw.
They've got massive injuries, mate.
Yeah, not just that. Not injuries. They're not clicking. They're not clicking. You saw like losing in the last.
You watch who they're playing next. You watch whoever they're playing next after AC Milan in the Premier League. If their next home game, they'll go and spank that team, whoever it is.
Yeah, but away from home, they've won one of their last 9. They've lost to Bournemouth. Yeah. That should have been 7 or 8 today. We absolutely peppered them. And yes, you could say Newcastle got injuries. Yes, you could say Newcastle played a lot more football because they're further in the cup. They've got Champions League. But we run them ragged. And I was expecting us to blow at like 60, 70th minute. We've put in Johnson out on the right. We played a lot of our football down the left, I think, in the first half. And I was expecting Johnson to kind of be like puffing, but he wasn't. Putting Son up against Trippier, knowing that he's going to beat him for pace, was a good tactical move by Ange and playing Richarlison in the middle. But I looked at Newcastle team. I think I think there's trouble there.
I disagree.
I disagree as well.
I disagree. Sorry, just to say, we got to put some respect on our club. Because if you think about it, realistically, we could have put 7 past Newcastle today. We could have put 7 past West Ham on Wednesday. We could have bloody put 7 past Aston Villa in the first half. The thing is, we are that good. We are playing the best football in the league. Unfortunately, the results these last couple of weeks while we've been adjusting, while we've been going through the furnace, just hasn't shown it. But I actually, for once, agree with Jamie Redknapp. Had we not had the injuries we had, the aftermath of the Chelsea game, I was just doing the numbers. The only game where we've played legitly shit was the Wolves game.
Yeah.
Every other game, we should have won.
And you know what? And you know the common denominator is Dej. The only game where Ange changed his tactics and went back to Conte ball under duress of not trusting the players that we had left over was Wolves. And Henry and I were at that game, you know, and it was an absolute mission to get there, mission to get home, and it was terrible. I want to bring Jack in. Jack, how you doing, mate? You've come straight from the game. Good to see you from Spurs Related. How are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well, buzzing to be here. I thought after a big 4-1 win, you've got to get me involved. I feel like I've got a lot to say. Been to the pub, had to celebrate a bit because 4-1 against Newcastle, especially with how good they've been over the past 6 months. I thought it was worth staying for a bit. No, but it's good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Mate, great to have you, mate. Welcome back to the channel. Mate, listen, you got a different perspective to the game today than I did, than Henry did, or than Deji did. Obviously, you were watching it in the game. In the stadium. Before I get into the specifics, I want to ask you about the atmosphere. Because I tell you what, because I was at I missed out the Aston Villa game. I was a little bit sick, and then I went to the West Ham game, but I was sat in the Tunnel Club, and it was a little bit different. It was a bit of a weird, you know, unusual environment, being surrounded by the players, the kind of trainers, and then the media and stuff. You're a little pocket of passionate fans, but you don't really. You get a little. It's just doesn't really feel like the same environment as being in the South Stand or in the East Stand or whatever. So I want to get, because I walked away from that game a little bit worried that some of the home fans had, especially after West Ham, it felt like there was no booing, but it felt like there was just a kind of like, oh, this is getting tough. Like we're struggling here. 3 on the bounce, 3 home defeats. What was the atmosphere like there at tonight for the Newcastle game?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I don't think it's been as good as it was at the start of the season. When we were top of the league, everything was bouncing. We were getting last-minute winners, and it's hard to maintain that. But I think everyone was clearly gutted after the West Ham game. I was there. It was a Thursday night. You're travelling all the way in for an 8:15 kickoff, and you've just seen Spurs really in that second half just not pose enough threat, which has been unlike us this season. But today, as soon as we start getting those first couple of goals, it improves a lot. But I'd be lying if I said from the off it was rocking. But I think once we
where were you sat? Where were you in the West Stand? East Stand.
I'm East Lower, so I'm
okay.
Round 7, so I'm right next to the action. It's probably not as good as the South Stand, of course, when that's rocking, but it's still atmosphere. People are up singing, and it was good. But I'd like to think once we get the momentum back, once we're starting, I think playing the football like we know we can, like we did today in that second half. Once we get those wins more on the board, I think it will be rocking again. But I think it's gonna, after a disappointing loss against West Ham, who wants to lose to West Ham? It probably was
terrible. Yeah, I saw there was loads. There's probably like someone told me there was 2,000 seats available on the exchange. Did you notice a lot of empty seats today?
Not massively. I know a lot of people missed it because it was miserable outside. I was feeling under the weather, but I thought, you've got to make it. I wanted to do a match day vlog. So I don't know. I think people have just been a bit gutted recently with the results. I feel like the football's still been there, but you feel like not the old Spurs that we're accustomed to, but it just hasn't really felt for us. But I think today is going to be the start of more positive results again. Honestly, we were fantastic, Sean, especially live as well, seeing us up close. We had Newcastle under the cosh for 90 minutes. They posed a threat, I think. They had that big chance through Anthony Gordon. After that, they didn't look like scoring throughout the whole 90 minutes.
Just quickly before I bring Henry in, mate. In fact, actually, let me press pause on the next question as well. I do want to get a super chat in, and I want to ask everyone to smash the like button before we do. Blaine Devlin, mate, absolute sensational work from you today. Brilliant support throughout the watch-alongs. And if you guys didn't know, Blaine chucked me a $5 and said, as a super chat, and said, have a cheeky $5 for you and Henry on 4-1 Tottenham and Richarlison to score at any time. And it was 35-1. So I stuck it on in Blaine's honour, as he asked me to, and came in 180 quid, which is going to go to pay for Henry and I's dinner up at Nottingham Forest next Friday night. So massively delighted for you, or very grateful for you, Blaine. And he's coming in again now with not dragging down today's performance at all, but I'd like to hear the panel's views on Romero. Again, he was close to a red card today. I get it's his character, but how do you sort the risk out? It's a fantastic question, and it's where I was going to go next. I'm going to go around the houses. I'll start with you on this one, Jack, and then I'm going to come to Henry. look, Romero, it didn't cost us today. He got a yellow card that I heard apparently Gary Neville was arguing could have been a red card. But earlier on in the first half, he did go in and it was a free kick against him that I think could have been a yellow card that wasn't given. Are we always dancing with the devil with this guy?
Definitely. 100%. You can't argue. You can't look away from it. This man, when he goes to tackle, he goes in with 100% force. And I love it. But at the end of the day, you can't do that every week. You can't, when you're playing in these massive matches, like we saw against AC Milan last season, like we saw against Chelsea, you can't be doing that every week. The way I would solve the problem, I think you need to grab him and just say, we're going to bring in a player who's just below your quality, who's going to be ready to come in next week and take your place, because you can't be going in with rash challenges every week. I think we need to invest in a serious centre-half who can compete with Romero. And then I think that solves the problem, because then Romero has to think more with his head. Right now, you've got Dyer, you've got Ashley Phillips, who's just turning 19. You haven't got the quality, and Romero doesn't care. He's a World Cup winner. He thinks, well, no one's going to replace me.
Okay, so interesting. So on that basis then, when Tottenham are linked with right-footed, right-sided centre-backs, and most of us are saying you don't need that right now. The priority is a left-footed, left-sided centre-back to compete with Van der Ven.
No way.
Is the argument actually maybe we should be thinking about a right-footed, right-sided guy to give him competition so that he calms himself down and makes better decisions?
Definitely. But what I would say is right-footed centre-back, if he's good enough anyway, he can play left centre-back as well. You want to bring someone of serious quality. Obviously, ideally, you want another backup for the left centre-half and right centre-half. But realistically, in January, are you going to get someone of that quality? Or are you going to spend that much money on two centre-halves? Probably not. I would bring in a 40 to 50 million player. I like Lloyd Kelly, but would I have him on the right centre-back role? Probably not. Just bring in someone who's going to tell Romero, look, I'm ready to take your place if you're not up to it. Romero needs to really get his mind into gear. We know how good he is, but you can't be doing that every week.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I think you make an interesting point about bringing in someone that could be on the right side to compete. Bit reckless, Henry.
Honestly, it's an uncomfortable conversation, mate. Like, I don't think, and this is just my opinion, this isn't the panel's opinion, but I can't name a team that's wants to win major honours, that's got this rock and roll style football we've got in the last decade, that is winning trophies, that's got a player like Romero, who is so brilliant, yet a walking time bomb. You can throw in Ramos, you can throw in Pepe, you can throw in Stam, but Romero is brilliant today, right? Don't get it twisted. He was very, very, very good.
He had a goal cleared off. Tottenham's first chance was his header.
Yeah, goal cleared off the line, right? The way he was dribbling out from the back, the way he passes it, he's absolutely brilliant. But that one moment, like today, on another day, we know the inconsistencies of the referees. We know how much of a shambles they are. On another day, that could have been a red.
Definitely.
No player in the Premier League has been red carded more since he joined. It's a red card. I think it's every 19 games.
On a games per red
red card basis. Yeah, he's had 4 red cards. No player since he joined the Prem has had that many red cards. It's brilliant. When he's on it like he is today, he's magnificent. Right, the way he passes it, like nutmegging players, he's brilliant. But that one red card overrides everything. Imagine we're against Arsenal at home in May, and if we win that game, we've solidified our top 4 position. We go 1-0 up. Romero gets sent off. We lose. That's when it eventually it's gonna cost us. If we would have got a straight red today, he would have missed Forest, Everton, and Brighton. Now you go in Forest away,
and we would have lost today.
1,000,000%. Yeah, like it's an uncomfortable. I've just seen the Daily Hotspur have put out serious conversations have got to be had. We need to look at selling this guy, mate. There is hundreds and hundreds of messages saying he's deluded, he's a clown. Alex Ferguson, Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp would not put up with this.
I don't think the popularity of an opinion has any veracity or any judgment on its veracity. Just because, like, if he put that same question out straight after the Chelsea game, there would have been hundreds and hundreds of comments saying he's right.
Yeah, I know.
People have
the
recency
timing of it's
bias.
relevant.
I think there's a conversation that should be had. I like the guy. I love the guy. I'd much rather he calmed down than we.
He's
sold
never going to
him
calm
to
down,
be-
Sean.
I want him out.
He's a South American hothead. It's in their blood.
I want him out.
Hang on. I thought Henry was going to be a little bit launchy with this one, but let's get the rocket boosters out. Deji's saying what? He wants.
I want him out. Look, anyone who knows me knows that I had Romero up here. I had him better than Saliba. But I can tell you, but what I've seen with Romero is that, like you've all said, he's a hothead. He doesn't know how to calm himself down. And he's going to be the reason why either we don't get Champions League football or we don't win a trophy because he's too bloody rash. Romero is all about me. He's not about the team. He's about himself. It's about how he plays. It's about the enjoyment he gets by hurting people. And that's not what we need at Tottenham. We need to get rid of him in Jan, and we need to bring in a Tapsoba or that sort of player in from early. Because like Henry said, this brother is not going to change. So let's forget that. There's no need for any competition, because if he's not the main man, he's not going to stick around anyway. He doesn't want competition. But he doesn't want to be here either. And let me just give you one of the reasons why I think is unforgivable. I think Romero is part of the reason why the fallout we had after that Chelsea game was so catastrophic. I think if Romero had just kept his head, we don't see Udogie go flying. Maybe Van der Ven doesn't get injured. I know there's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes, but he's supposed to be a leader. He's supposed to be a vice captain, leading from the front. What he did was he threw us in the bloody gutter. And because of him, we're probably 6 or 7 points off where we should be. So for me,
I agree with that.
I think look, there's other top defenders out there. I had him up there with Saliba's. Look, the Taxoba is just as good.
He's just signed a new contract with a team that's winning the Bundesliga right now. He ain't going anywhere. He's not going anywhere.
What I'm trying to say is, if we Spurs fans, look, sometimes you can see what's about to happen. Let's not wait for him to get. He almost got sent off today, my brothers. He almost cost us today's game. That means he's not learned. He just come back and was almost about to get another 3-match ban. That's 6 games.
Deji, all I'd answer is, sometimes I feel like you don't know what you've got until it's lost. Before we had Romero with our 2 centre-halves pairing, we were awful at the back. There was no fight. There was no big tackles going in. And I totally agree with what you mean, because I think we need to invest in a proper centre-half. But for me, it's not about getting rid of Romero. It's about trying to tame the line that we have in him. He's not going to get rid of his ferociousness, because that's who he is. But if you can partner with someone like he was with Mickey van der Ven, who is calm, who is composed, I feel like then he believes in himself. Then he feels like, oh, maybe I don't need to do more. When he's got Mickey van der Ven by his side, he's a lot calmer, I feel like. And now he's got...
I agree with that.
He doesn't quite have the trust.
No, listen, I 100% agree with you what you're saying there, mate. And I think today was the first time that I've seen anybody other than Romero, if he doesn't have Mickey van der Ven, put in a better shift in the centre-back role. And I don't want to get away from the Romero conversation, because I think it's very interesting. And I'd love to get people's comments. I'm bringing them up. I mean, let us know, guys, whether people are on board with... I mean, look, it seems like Deji wants him gone. Henry would be willing to sell him. Jack is too
much of a risk.
Jack is more of the let's develop around him. I don't want him to go, but listen, I do think that what you're saying, Jack, is true, mate. That with Mickey van der Ven next to him, he knows that he doesn't have to be so rash, because if something goes wrong, then Van der Ven's got the pace to get him out of trouble, which we've seen in the first 10 games. However, today it was Ben Davies that was the unbelievable performance.
His passing.
I want every single person in the comment section who, especially the ones that have been calling for Ben Davies' head to be chopped. And I know there's a lot of you out there. I know who you are. I've been watching you. I've been listening to you. Like Ben Davies today, not just that one moment in the first 8 minutes when he toe pokes the ball away, which is game changing, but throughout the game, Ben Davies was sensational. And I want to know whether or not we need to like. Is this just a flash in the pan? What was it that made Ben Davies extraordinary today against a very Isaac didn't do a thing. Yeah, but Isaac, like Ben Davies has still got little Isaac in his pocket. Go on, Deji.
Can I just say that we need to put some respect on Ben Davies's name? Because whenever we don't expect anything from Ben Davies, that's when he pulls something out the bag. I'm not even just talking about the Newcastle game. This guy has actually played.
He's always good. He's never terrible. He was good. He was the best player against Wolves. The best player by far against Wolves. Never gets any credit because we lost the game. Like, he's never going to be. He's not traditionally the man of the match, but like defenders rarely are. But he was spectacular today. Spectacular.
I think he's been an absolute professional. Do you know what I mean? And today, that opportunity that he just knocks off, and before Isak buries that ball in the back of the net, is just. It's just that's what this guy does. He puts himself about. Even in the West Ham game, he put himself about, made some fantastic blocks. And actually, Ben Davies has surprised me because I've never seen him in a back two pairing. But he's actually done a sterling job. Sterling job. That even though we do miss Van der Ven, when you're talking about the defensive issues or the goals we've conceded in the last few games, none of us can point to Ben Davies being at fault. It's not his fault, it's everybody else. So for me, not just today's game, Ben Davies, I think we gotta hold him up. And actually, I've been one of those ones, ashamedly, who's wanted Ben Davies out of the club. I think it's about time we actually say, you know what, he's a Spurs.
Mate, I've defended that man. I've defended that man on so many shows, so many channels.
Testimonial.
He's never gonna be world class. His ceiling is very much hit wherever it is, but he gets close to his ceiling every single game. Henry, I mean, give me some words on Ben Davies today, mate. A lot of people are fairly calling it as it was, which is a brilliant performance. What was your take on it?
Yeah, mate. Listen, that the first 10 minutes, Isak nearly scored. If he doesn't get his right foot to that, we probably wouldn't. Well, I don't know if we'd have won that game. They probably would have sat back, stunk out a low block. We know we can't break down the low blocks. He just doesn't get enough. I don't think he's ever been the level to be an out-and-out starting centre-back throughout his tenure at the football club. But when he does come in, he does a job. He's like steady Eddie, 7.5 out of 10 every single week. But today he went up to a 9.5. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Definitely. If he gets a clean sheet, I know it's so disappointing to concede right at the end, but if they keep a clean sheet, you're talking about a contender for man of the match. Like, he was absolutely brilliant, passing out from the back. He won some aerial duels. He keeps us. That's as good as a goal that in the first 5-10 minutes for us. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't because he's not like, he doesn't really have like blistering pace. He's not really that sound on the ball. He's just kind of like a guy you want in your squad. He doesn't really get the plaudits of the likes of Van der Ven and the likes of, Romero, the likes of Toby and Jan used to get, because he's just happy to just be in and around the squad, a bench player coming when needed. But today, he was absolutely brilliant.
He doesn't get that toe to that ball in the first 10 minutes.
I honestly don't think we win that game.
We lose that game 2-0.
I agree. Because we would not be able to break down Newcastle. They would have stunk it out. We've all the low blocks we've played, like Fulham. I don't think the performance was that great over the 90. Liverpool, it took us to the very, very end. Same as Sheffield United. You look at West Ham, Villa, and Wolves all played a low block. If Newcastle do that, they would have put 10 men behind the ball, and it would have been a counter. Bring on Wilson, have Wilson, Isak, and Almiron or Gordon, and they would have countered us. Because he does that, it completely changed the dynamic of the game. And I think that we should give credit where credit's due. We can be critical and critique players when needed, but today you got to give Ben 100%. Davies a pat on the back and say, look, you're spring chicken anymore. What is he, 32, 31, 33? And he was absolutely unreal today.
But he's a workhorse, mate. You got your show ponies and you got your workhorses, and the show ponies usually get the plaudits but it's the workhorses that make the difference. And I think that Ben Davies, rightly so, I'm pleased most people in the comment section are jumping on board. I'm going to move our considerations now across to the fullbacks, guys. But before we do, I just want to say a couple of super chats. Got Mr. D Sinclair saying keep Romero and sign to Debo. Listen, I'd love to keep Romero. I'm not advocating selling him. I think I know Deji is. I'd love to keep him, and I'm more in Jack's line of thought where you just offer competition where he needs to adapt his game in order to maintain his spot. As far as Tadibo goes, look, I'd love to get the guy, like potential world-class player out of Nice, but in all honesty, he's going to go to Manchester United, right? So Jim Ratcliffe owns Nice and owns a slice of Man United, and United
it's an
need
deal to do for United, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, he's not going to go anywhere but United, in my opinion. I'd be surprised, but if we can get him, 100%. And then a new member of the channel, Nathan, the Spurs fan. Big up, mate. I really appreciate your support. Love to meet you on a fan phoning show, which I'm terrible at doing, but I will be doing more of. But I really appreciate your support, mate. Guys, also please smash the like button on the video if you haven't already. It does really help the channel. And also Henry Wright, Deji, Spurs, and Spurs Related, where Jack can be found. All of their channels are in the title. So all you got to do is go down and click all three of those links. It will pop up a new tab. It doesn't take you away from the show, but make sure you get over there and hit the subscribes. They're all brilliant content creators, and I'm sure would really appreciate your support. Jack, I'm going to come to you, mate. I want to start with Destiny Udogie. Interesting game from him. Obviously got a goal. I think is it his first goal or second goal for Tottenham? Second goal. No, he got a goal did he get a goal in the preseason? I'm not sure. I can't remember when his first goal came.
Early in the season, or maybe it was an assist. I don't know.
I feel like I don't think he scored. I don't think he scored in the Premier League. So I think it was he got a header. He got a header in preseason. I believe I can remember now, but mate.
But anyway, doesn't matter. I feel like he might have done.
What's that? Say again?
He might have scored from a corner earlier on in the season. I feel like it was a front post header. But
was that pre-season or was that either way? Whatever. First goal or second goal, he scored today. Yeah. For me, he was participating in Ange Ball FIFA settings. I spoke about this with Henry. Finally, we're seeing a team doing what Celtic's version of Ange Ball was: get the ball to the wingers, get to the byline, whip it back, and in an ideal world, you've got either a number 9, a number 10, a number 8, or one of the two fullbacks that are sat somewhere within the box. And today it worked out. Destiny Udogie's performance today, Jack, how did you think he did?
For me, definitely in the conversation for the top 3 for man of the match. For me, once again, Destiny Udogie, I think we're so lucky to get him. I think genuinely he's going to be one of the best left backs in the world. Some may say that's a reactionary take, but I genuinely think he's phenomenal. What I would say is he's still raw. He will still make mistakes like he did against West Ham, maybe with a sloppy pass back. But the way he's learned to be so defensive, and I feel so comfortable when they're going through on goal, because he's got the pace, he's got the power to outmuscle someone, and then how quickly he can adopt that kind of inverted role, progress the attack. He can drive with the ball, but he's not afraid to pop it through the lines as well. It's fantastic. Honestly, Destiny Udogie, there's not enough adjective out there to say how good he really is. I think
give him a 10-year contract. I don't care. Just pin him down.
He's fantastic. He can always pop up with a goal. He knows he's got such a great interplay with Kulusevski. Looks for Johnson out wide. I think everyone feels. How old is he? Is he Destiny Udogie only 20
years old?
And everyone feels like they put so much trust in him straight away. He's only been at the club for 6 months. Like, this man is phenomenal. And I feel like with Porro as well on the right-hand side, you've got that perfect balance. You've got Destiny Udogie, who likes to come in the middle, who progress the play, and you've got Porro, who in my opinion prefers being out wide because of his crossing ability, because how quickly he can progress defence to attack as well. I think we've got 2 fantastic fullbacks, and I think Udogie today was phenomenal.
I'm going to step up on that. I think we've got the best fullback pairing in the Premier League right now.
Thank you, Henry.
Look at Liverpool with Robertson and Trent. Obviously, Robertson's been out injured I think he's out injured till January. But right now, in terms of the way, like, they're not the strongest 2 out there defensively. I think they're like, you could look at other fullbacks and say they're better defensively. But overall, like, when they go forward, they are ridiculous. Porro today's passing. It's like we've got a midfielder at right back. The guy is absolute class.
that was right next to me. The way he don't underestimate how hard that pass is. The way you've got to float it when the keeper's coming out as well. It just drops.
It's disgusting.
It's outrageous. I think he's probably the best passer of the ball as a right back, maybe just behind Alexander-Arnold and Reece James, maybe when he's fit. He's phenomenal.
He is class. But for me,
go on, Dave.
No, I was just sorry, Henry, just to say, I think for me, the maddest thing out of all of this thing, I agree with Henry. I think Udogie and Porro is Carl Walker and Danny Rose 5.0. But can you imagine that last season we had these two players technically in our squads? We loaned out Udogie knowing that he was this good. Like, we left him with Udinese for a year. And remember when Porro came from Sporting Lisbon? I remember I liked him when we played them in the Champions League because he gave us a bit of a runaround. Look how dusty that Conte guy is. Because I was actually saying to my missus and to my brother-in-law earlier today, Postecoglou, we've always had this tech in our squad. Look at the way the whole team is popping the ball. Udogie, Porro, Sarr. And to think that these guys couldn't get buy an opportunity to be in the squad. I can't believe it. So it just shows you how bad a job Conte did, because these guys are ballers. I agree with Jack. I agree with Henry. I think these guys, if not this season, the seasons to come will be the best wing backs in the league. The techers is just too much, mate. Porro, technique, Udogie's just bodying people out of the way is absolutely fantastic. Look, our team is. I never thought I'd say it, but we are quite scary. I don't think. Look,
no one wants to play us. No one wants to play us.
David Moyes said it. He said we are the best footballing team in the league right now, and West Ham were lucky to walk out with a result. He said they could barely touch the ball. Respect that.
If you put a goal scoring, like let's just say hypothetically, you put Ivan Toney. This is just hypothetically. I don't think we'll get Ivan Toney, but you put Ivan Toney, two centre backs in this team with someone like Jota. You're pushing where Arsenal and Liverpool are right now.
Yeah,
like we're creating the same amount of chances, if not more, since when we had Van der Ven and Maddison. Kulusevski's gone into that 10 role and went, okay, that's fine. When he's found out on the right, he's too one-dimensional, he's predictable, cutting on his left. So that when he plays in that 10 role, it's like it's like a switch gets flipped and he's like, right, I'm a new player.
Yeah.
Like Johnson's
in every game, in every single game. I know that people are probably neutral fans will probably go, oh, you're forgetting what happened the last 4 games. You're getting your positivity bias, the pendulum swings. But if you're entirely honest, if most fans were entirely honest, the reason why we didn't beat West Ham is because we didn't create or take enough chances. We didn't have the confidence to go forward. The reason why we didn't beat Aston Villa, who, by the way, have just smashed us, City and Arsenal, the only reason we didn't beat them is because we didn't take our chances. Yeah. The only reason we didn't create Wolves was because we pivoted away from our tactic, away from our philosophy, and moved to something of a bygone era. If Tottenham can create enough chances, which we can do in most games, and then find a way to take them on and take the chances, we can beat anybody on our day, not only with our first 11, but even with this current 11 that has got a couple of big players missing. Yes, we need to add some depth, but ultimately, I was saying this to you earlier, Henry, when you look at our full strength midfield options, when you've got Bentancur, Lo Celso, Højbjerg, Skip, Maddison, Sarr, Kulusevski in the middle, Lo Celso. When you got all that, you could sit there and kind of go, which other team in the Premier League has a midfield, and midfields win battles, by the way, and battles win games. Which other team can go to their 6th and 7th best midfielder and can offer a quality of player as high as Pierre-Emile Højbjerg? I don't think there is one.
A lot of that's down to Ange.
I agree.
Because if we were playing Conte, half of these midfielders would have been sold.
Yeah.
Same with Unai Emery. Like Dendoncker doesn't start at a lot of Premier League clubs. You put him in that Villa team, he comes in and does a job.
No,
like Douglas Luiz was a lost cause under Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Unai walks in and you're like, okay, now we're looking at one of the best midfielders this season. A lot of that's down to Ange. Like Højbjerg, a lot of people wanted out in January. Ange just walked in and we're like, okay, there's a squad player in there.
Well, let me ask this, Henry. Right? Let me just quickly, because I wanted to go through the rest of the team, but let's take a pivot, because we are now talking about Ange ball, Ange philosophy, Ange tactics. He's taken a little bit of criticism from some people over the last 3 games of making this, and myself included as well, around his substitutions. Today, let's pause on the rest of the team. We can move forward in a minute. Let's pause and go to Ange. His starting 11, I'll start with you, Henry. What was that out of 10? Were you happy with it? But also, after that, the substitutions he made, was there anything you would like to have seen that he didn't do, or were you happy with what he did?
Starting 11, I mean, I did feel a bit for Gio because he scored like twice recently and he looked like he's starting to find his feet again. I did feel a bit hard done by for him, but in start 11, I was actually fairly happy with. I did actually put an unpopular opinion in that I wouldn't mind seeing him on the left. In terms of the substitutions, I think he brought on, who did he bring out? He brought on Skip towards, he brought on Donnelly in the 91st minute. He brought on Hill in the 86th, Skip in the 86th. By then, the game's already done. And I think he brought on Gio in the 73rd. Like, the subs for me were pretty much like the game was already done by then. It's games where we're like, I've been very critical on Angie subs because in games where we're chasing, you can't bring an Ollie Skip in a game where you need a goal and take off Gio. That just makes no sense whatsoever. But today I thought the changes were all right. I did feel a bit harsh for Richie because I thought he might be able to get a hat trick with the chances we were creating. One thing I will say is Donnelly should have come on in the 70th minute. That game was done. Newcastle weren't going to score 3 or 4 goals. This kid is a talent. You know, we've seen him in the Premier League 2, in the academy. The numbers speak for themselves. You can't bring him on in the 91st minute when we're 4-0 up. Like he
didn't touch the ball again, did he? It was irrelevant.
You're damned if you do. If you bring it, start him in the FA Cup and we lose the game, and you're damned if you don't bring him on in a game we're winning. Eventually, and like look at Newcastle. Whether it's through injury or this 17-year-old is absolute class, they're starting a 17-year-old in Premier League games, and apparently the likelihood he's going to be in the squad for the Champions League against Milan on Wednesday. Eventually, if Donnelly is as good as we all think he is and can be, he's got to roll the dice and put him in a game. The problem is, he's so tight.
There was no dice rolling necessary today, right? We were 3-0 up.
Should have brought him on the 70th minute. Give him 20 minutes. Like we haven't even seen the guy pass the ball in the first team yet. The problem is, if we start him in one of these games,
it's too big of an occasion.
Henry, the only thing I'd say is it was quite fitting for me in the ground. You've got Son, who is like Tottenham's idol. He's our superstar, and then you're bringing on Son, who's had an amazing game, and then you're bringing on Jamie Donnelly, almost like passing the baton. Which for me, you want to see him play, but if you're 4-0 up, you want the manager to be like, "You're not quite yet there, mate." But you will get there, but we're going to ease you in. I feel like we don't need to chuck him straight in the deep end.
But like,
could it have been 10 minutes earlier, though, Jack, I guess is the question. Could it have been, rather than the 91st minute, could it have been the 81st minute? The game was done anyway, right?
Maybe. And I can see Henry's point definitely there. But I feel like you've got so many good players on the bench there. With Gio Lo Celso scored 2 in 2. He's come on. You've got to bring on Højbjerg as well. And if we concede a stupid goal, it kind of puts a dampener on what's been a fantastic performance. And I'm not saying Jamie Donnelly's not up to the level yet, but I feel like maybe you're taking an unnecessary risk. I feel like Jamie Donnelly's going to be a player for Spurs for the next 5 years. But I think if we feed him in slowly, it's unnecessary to put him straight in the deep end. What happens if he has a big tackle and gets injured as well? That's going to be another big
problem with it is, though, him only getting like 5 minutes here, 3 minutes there. He's never really like until we eventually, whether it comes through, we've got injuries or whatever reason it may be, he's gonna have to give him more game time for him to develop. Like, and I think in the next year or 18 months or so, you probably will see him get a loan move, and that loan move is gonna have to be bang on the money for his career growth. But when you're 3-0 up against Newcastle, that we could have played that game for another 4 sets of 90 minutes, I don't think they would have won. I think we were just so much better than them. Like, I see Eddie Howe coming out saying, well, we've had the toughest fixture congestion, blah, 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 blah. However, I just think that we were far better than them. But when you're 3-0 up in a game, I think just give him game time.
I agree, and I hear what you're saying, but I think, you know, there's almost like a hierarchy that we've got to respect with players coming on. And I know that the fans want Donnelly to come on, but I feel like Onge is probably managing it the best way he can. I'll give you an example. Brian Hill, under most circumstances, we know he needs confidence, he needs game time. He's trying to ease Brian Hill into the team. He's trying to bring back the Lo Celsos of this world. Yeah. So he is doing it gradually. And also, he's got to do that whilst also trying to win a game. So I can see why he done it. I think Donnelly will get his chance, but there are other players who are, for me, at the moment, in front of him in the pecking order. So for me, Belize is slightly ahead of Donnelly. He's a striker. Why isn't he getting a sniff? You can say the same. You know, Brian Hill, we know he needs... Brian Hill reminds me when Modric first came to Spurs. Light as a feather, couldn't quite hack it. Then over the summer, Modric comes back. He's a different beast. Brian Hill just needs to just get a bit more muscle in there. And that's a good quality player. Another option potentially that we can have. I think those two players are ahead of Donnelly in terms of the pecking order, in terms of coming on opportunities. But if they don't take their chances, then definitely he's next in line for the throne. But he's got time. And I think on the one thing you know on the Postecoglou, he's no Conte. Donnelly will be given his chance at the right moment. And that could well be the FA Cup. But for Premier League games...
Yeah, but the problem is, if he plays in the FA Cup...
I think 20 minutes is
and
too
we
long.
Lose it, it will be
20 minutes in the Premier League is too long, mate. You can lose.
I think there's an argument. I'll tell you what, Deji, I think there's an argument. Listen, I kind of side with Henry. However, I think Jack and you make good points that he will get his chance. And on top of that, you also have to manage the fact that Lo Celso didn't deserve to be dropped anyway, right? He got 2 goals in 2 games. He wasn't the reason why we lost against West Ham. And so if he doesn't get minutes during the game...
But Lo Celso was already on.
And the kid
was already on in the 72nd minute.
He's a difficult personality to manage, Lo Celso. So, you know, you probably need to kind of juggle. It's probably a lot to juggle, right? It's not as simple as like, I'll just give the guy minutes. I hear what you guys are saying. I still probably lean towards Henry's side that...
If we play him in the FA Cup and we lose to Burnley, it will be disastrous.
Yeah.
In a game where if he brings him on, he brings the Celso on in the 73rd minute or 74th minute, whatever it is, for Richarlison. We're 3-0 up then. He could have taken Johnson off, right? Moved Kulu back out to the right and played Donnelly in the 10 for 10 minutes where we're 3-0 up and coasting. If it's like 2-1, then yeah, I'd get it. But in a game where Newcastle barely laid a glove on us other than that chance in, I think 2 chances in the first 15 minutes. I think like I don't really see another opportunity. Like we're 3-0 up in a game. FA Cup's a different. Like you're talking about the only domestic competition, the only trophy we can really win.
The FA Cup, we got a really tough time, mate. Burnley.
Yeah, you can't start Donnelly in the FA Cup.
It would have been different if you get like a non-league or a League 2 or whatever. But Burnley, I don't know.
Playing well now. Picking up some good results as well. We need to play our best team. FA Cup this year, 1 game a week. Tottenham team that are starving for a cup run, starving for a cup.
You got to take it seriously
and believe we can beat anyone.
And the fact that every single Tottenham fan went mental at Ange Postecoglou when we fielded the B team against Fulham.
Yeah, right? we need to go on a serious cup run this year and believe we can win it. And I generally feel like we have the capability to do. We're talking about competing at the top end of the Premier League with our full starting 11. There's no reason why we shouldn't be going really deep into this competition. You don't want to take any chances, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, look at the League Cup, right? The draw. Yeah. We could have had last year the FA Cup. Sorry, we had Sheffield United. I can't remember who got through to the very, but the draw was fairly on our side.
Mm.
If we get past Burnley and get a good draw, and you see a couple of the big boys draw each other like we already have with Liverpool and Arsenal,
exactly.
There's no reason we can't go deep into that competition. And then if it comes to prioritising this or that, in my opinion, because we haven't seen anything in so long, we have to go all out for some silverware.
1 game a week anyway, because it's the FA Cup and it tends to be on the weekends. You've got to back the boys. I want the crowd to be well up for the FA Cup this year. We've seen in previous years where we don't fill out the stadium. I feel like this is a cup competition this year that everyone can get behind. It's the only cup we're in.
Just quickly, I know that Deji's got to go in 5 or 6 minutes. I do want to progress the conversation towards because I don't think we've spoken a little bit or not quite enough about Pape Sarr tonight and Bissouma. I thought they were spectacular as well. Before we do, someone, Joe here, has just mentioned, and I think it was you, Henry, earlier on today that reminded me, or at least informed me, that Jurgen Klinsmann said that he's taking Sonny away from Tottenham on January the 2nd or something, right?
Yeah, January the 2nd or 3rd.
Is that the same for Sarr as well, and for
Sarr and Bissouma will be leaving at the end of Jan, towards the end of Jan, but
they're leaving later. But we are without Sonny for all of January, basically.
Yeah,
essentially, yeah. There is a 10-day winter break in there, but the way the winter break works is certain Premier League teams will be playing on certain days, and others will be playing on the other days. So
I'm back in January is the 14th. So you've got the second.
Yeah, it's Man United, isn't it? And then we got Brentford.
Yeah.
So we were Son for Burnley, Man United, and Brentford.
At least.
Go as soon as it's January the 1st. Get him in as done. Get him in this football club from Feyenoord. Because without Son, I don't know who. I think that you kill 50% of our creativity in the
final. When is Madders due back though? When is Madders due back? Because
early February, he reckons.
Because he seemed to indicate that he was all right now on Wednesday. Do you know what I mean? Did you hear him when he did a little before the game, and he said it was a slow burn, and then Postecoglou kind of threw it away. But he kind of indicated that he's fit now. To be fair,
he said to Ben Foster as well, he's ready and raring soon. So hopefully, once he's back,
I don't want to rush him back though, because we have a habit of doing this. I'd rather him be out until the end of Jan and then come back, and then we've got a fully fit Madders. Then bring him back in the early Jan, he tweaks something, then he's out for another 3 or 4 months. We've seen it happen with Benson Core, easing back in slowly. Because Maddison for me is up there with Son and Van de Ven, the most important players. He's everything to us.
And Benton Core as well, who we didn't get to see much.
I don't think we'll see Benton Core back until March, probably, unfortunately. It's a real shame. Deji, I know you got to go, mate, very soon, so I just want to give you the first crack at this particular topic. We're going to move towards Bissouma and Sarr, and I've got 2 different angles here I want to explore with the panel. So I'll start with you. Pape Sarr, incredible performance. Is his involvement, this is topic A, is his involvement and his absence over the last couple of games more meaningful than we first thought? And the second topic is Bissouma hasn't really turned up. It hasn't really had a great game until since Arsenal, since Luton, you can make the argument that he hasn't really come back. People were making excuses saying, oh, it was the threat of a yellow card hanging over his head, the threat of suspension. But even when that whole thing was cleared, didn't really play fantastically well until today. I thought today he was brilliant. I thought Sarr was spectacular. And I want to get your take before you leave on both of these guys individually. How important are they? And also, are they symbiotic? Does one not work without the other? Kind of thing.
No, thank you, Sean. I think first and foremost, I'm a strong believer in the proof's in the pudding. And for me, the proof, Pape Sarr, we have missed him. I've gone as far as to say I think he's as influential as Declan Rice has been for Arsenal. He's that big a player. What Postecoglou likes is he likes players that can work horses, and don't ask and with the hard work that he gives, he's also technically gifted. He's a really gifted player. So I think Pape Sarr, we need to be putting some respect on it. Postecoglou has clearly seen that he's a starter for Spurs, and actually what is going to be interesting moving forward, probably next season, is when Bentancur is fit, what is his midfield 3? Because for me, there's still a question: is it Sarr or is it Bentancur? But for now, Pape Sarr has made himself. He is one of the first names.
Indispensable.
And also, you're right. Bissouma, they asked Postecoglou this, and I kind of agree with him. If you're stopping and starting in the way Bissouma has since the Luton sending off, it does affect your rhythm, and football is very much about rhythm. But also, you guys made comment about Van de Ven helping out Romero, calming Romero down. When you've got someone as solid, technical, does the hard work so you don't have to, it just calms you down. So
100%.
we've seen Basuma. Basuma was a lot more calmer today than he's been in the last 3 games.
Got his
Because
boy
he
next
knows
to him, right?
what his friend, his sidekick, his kind of bad boys 2 business partner on the pitch. Whereas he's making those mistakes.
Bad boys too. I love that.
Yeah, Will Smith.
No, you're right. I like that.
Thing going on. Do you know what I mean? But where with Højbjerg, with Skip, unfortunately, they don't give him the same level of protection, because if he did, the goal that Man City scored to get the 3rd goal, he releases that ball. Basuma got the ball today and was doing the right things, but when you don't 100% trust your teammate,
yeah, no, I get it. I'm with you.
And that's why I think I saw.
So you're saying that like the Basuma and Sarr relationship flies under the radar as being as important to our team as Romero and Van der Ven, because those two are obviously connected because they're centre backs, but people don't think about Sarr and Basuma in the same fashion, but we should, because those two are brothers for life, like Bad Boys too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I don't think we've lost a game with Basuma and Sarr on the pitch.
No, we haven't.
The only bad game they had was against Wolves, and I think they both got scapegoated a bit.
Hang on, didn't they play against Chelsea, both of them?
That and Wolves, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we had 9 men for that one. Yeah. But I'm just saying, in terms of
apart from that and that and that one and the other one, it's pretty much a perfect scenario.
Thank you.
I hear you.
I actually think, like you said, it has definitely gone under the radar a bit.
No, I'm with you, Deji. Listen, I know you got to go. I'll give you a chance now to jump off, and we'll continue the conversation. Deji, mate, where can people find you? Your link is in the description. But what's coming up on Deji Spurs TV?
Yeah, so everyone, thank you, Sean. It's a pleasure. I'll be back again next Sunday. Everyone, make sure you like and subscribe. Please click those likes. Yeah, you can find me on Deji Spurs YouTube. Tomorrow, I'll be doing a review. But on Tuesday, I'll be doing a look at the next 4 matches. I did one previously called The Blueprint, where I predicted that we'd get 3 or 4 points. Just saying, I was right. I had other optimistic Spurs fans who thought we could get 7 points in these games. I'm actually going to go as far as to say I reckon we can win our next 4 games. So that's a sneak preview into The Blueprint, which will be Tuesday.
Deji, mate, love you, buddy. Thanks so much for coming on, my man. Everybody, make sure you smash the subscribe. His link is in the title. And Deji, I'll see you soon, buddy. Let me come to you, Jack, on this one. Let's continue the conversation around. And by the way, guys, keep smashing. There's 500 people in the house. Keep smashing the likes, and also hit the subscribe to Henry and to Jack's channel. They're both in the description as well. In the title as well. So just hit the links and get those tabs open. It doesn't take you away from the stream. Jack, let's talk about Sarr. Let's talk about Basuma. You know, what's going on? Is it symbiotic? Is it peas and pods? All that stuff. What's going on?
That midfield with Madison's like the Holy Trinity. They're fantastic. It's like they're born to play together. Honestly, Sarr, I don't think, and myself included at the start of the season, I think because he's probably not sensational at one thing other than his work rate, people don't give him the plaudits that he deserves. He covers, he makes Pedro Porro great. When Pedro Porro is pinging those fantastic balls, when he's playing through the lines, it's because he knows Sarr's going to cover him. Sarr just runs and runs and runs. His energy just doesn't run out. He's fantastic. He's technical. He knows how to play through the lines. He can drive with the ball. But defensively, I think he's probably our best midfielder. I think Basuma's best bit is breaking through the lines, those small little touches and then progressing the play forward. But if he loses the ball, Sarr's got his back all the time. And that's what Basuma's been missing. That's why Basuma's not been playing as well, because he hasn't had the cover. I don't think he believes in Højbjerg as much. I don't think he believes in Lo Celso as much. And he knows that Sarr is going to do anything to make sure he gets Basuma out of trouble. And that's why we saw Basuma play better today. And that's why this Tottenham team worked perfectly well.
Yeah, listen, I think you nailed it, mate. I completely agree. One doesn't work necessarily as well without the other. Henry, are you on the same page, mate?
Yeah, like when they work together, it's like they're in a relationship, isn't it? You know, when you haven't got your partner by your side, you don't feel particularly that like, unless you like your own company. But I thought that when they're on it together, one goes, the other one sits. You know, I've said it and I'll say it again a million times. 70% of the world is covered by water. The rest is covered by Sartor. The guy is ridiculous. He's 21, 20 years of age, something like that. Basuma's like unbelievable as well. I just wish we saw this now. We need to see this like 10, 12 games on the bounce now. Go for it. Show why like Basuma has got a manager around him that believes in him and wants him to be one of the senior members of the team. Show that now. Like, I think in the last 4 or 5 games, I haven't been too impressed with him, but I think Jack's got a point. Now that Sar's back, you know, he kind of like, it's like your cover. It's like the Hardy Boys. Now they're back together, you're like, right, okay, let's go and do it.
Yeah.
And Kulu as well, sitting just in front of them, that 10 role.
Let's move towards the 10.
He's adopted it like it's like a glove to him. He's fit right in. I don't like him out on the right. I think he's too predictable. Unless you're Mahrez, Messi, Iron, Robin, Salah, who can cut in and bang it with his left foot 9 out of 10 times. Kulu cuts in and hesitates.
Let me zoom forward just for a split second here as an experiment, a thought experiment. When Maddison's back, when Bentancur's back, do you keep Decky on the bench?
No, definitely not.
You put Decky back on the right-hand side, Jack, yeah?
But this is the thing. I feel like you can almost interchange them. I feel like Maddison has the capability to move to the right and then bring Kulusevski inside. I feel like they've both got the creativity and the understanding of how to play with each other, that it can kind of be free roaming roles. I don't feel like you have to just put Kulusevski out wide, because you can then have Porro come wider and then bring Kulusevski inside and then play 1-2s. I feel like Ange is such a good manager that he has so much tactical knowledge that it's not one strict role. You don't have to just put him out wide on the right.
Well, it didn't look to me like Decky was playing. Decky wasn't playing in the 10 today. Like, he was playing in the 10.
He was free
in the first half, he was on the left wing more than he was in the centre. You know, he was flipping and switching. Like, I agree with what you're saying, Jack. I think he was very fluid and sort of dynamic as a situational player, and I like what you're saying around like you can like merge and move. But for me, I just worry a little bit that, you know, Decky has been at his worst this season when he's been expected to sit on the right hand side, and you know, when I think he's better in the 10 role now. But obviously, when Maddison comes back, I
think he's got to sit on the bench. I'm not gonna lie. I think Bentancur's on the bench too. I think the midfield should be Sarr, Basuma, and Maddison, Johnson on the right. If Richarlison can score, put him down the middle. If he can get 12, 15 goals a season, if not, put Son on the left and go and sign Jimenez.
And then you'd have Decky and
Bentancur
on the bench.
Yeah, but then you're talking about squad depth. Jack Grealish, Jeremy Doku, and Foden do not start every single game for Man City.
Yeah.
That's the difference between top teams.
All I'd say is, and I totally agree, squad depth. I think to be in a position where you can have the likes of the quality of maybe a Johnson, of a Decky or a Bentancur on the bench is crazy to talk about, especially where we were last year. But for me, I feel like we underrate Kulusevski. Over the past 4 games, when we've had the likes of Maddison being injured, he's been so good, honestly. To even come up with that towering header as well in the last minute against Man City, I think he's such a clutch player for Tottenham. I think he's creative. I think he's brilliant through the middle. I think out wide, he hasn't been at his best. But then if you look at Saka as well recently, in my opinion, obviously was fantastic for Arsenal last year. I think he's been found out. He's always looking to cut in and wrap it. And I feel like that's just that position at the minute.
I feel with Saka as well, he's a lot of his performances are papering over the cracks. He's not doing well for 90 minutes, but he'll get a goal or an assist. The thing is, I don't think Kulu is nowhere. Like, in my personal opinion, I think I'd choose Maddison over Kulu any day of the week.
Different players, but
they are. That's what I was going to say. They're very different players. I just feel with Kulu, unless you play, there will be a game where you can play them both. You can play Kulu in the 8, Maddison in the 10, and then one of Sarr, Basuma, or Bentancur holding. Like, if you're playing Luton at home, Sheffield United at home, or Burnley, but it's when you come up against like City away, Liverpool away, you're gonna have to match their energy, and that's where I think you need the duo of dreams in Bissar and Bissar. That's what we're calling them, Bissar. That's what we're calling them, Bissar. There you go.
It's crazy. It's bizarre.
only thing I'd add with Kulu, which this is what I think he does incredibly well. He protects the ball so well. When it's pinged up the pitch from a Porro, from a Udoji, or even a Basuma, he protects the ball so well, and then he drops the shoulder and looks for that cutting edge ball through the lines. And I don't think we have many players who are as strong on the ball as Kulu, and that's how we started a lot of our attacks this year. So it might not be the assist, but it's the pass before the assist that starts the goal. And I think you'll see us not play as well without Kulu in the side, but that's just my personal opinion. And I think we've got great squad depth, so it's good to have that conversation.
Mate, I hear you. Listen, a lot of people say that Tottenham have got no depth. Tottenham got absolutely no depth, and I'd challenge it. Like, we can't figure out what's our best 11, right? We can't. With everyone's fully fit, I think there's an argument to have Perisic on the left-hand side. I know Perisic might be done. He might be going, away. He certainly probably won't get a new contract, but he was fantastic. Manor Solomon offers something different. Didn't really have enough of a sample size with him. Didn't do enough for me, but there's a player in there, I'm sure. And it makes you look at that and go, if we just add one striker, an out-and-out great striker, add a little bit of depth to the centre-back situation. And again, I'll make the point, right? Like, I don't know if these guys are going to be willing to hang around, but if you've got a Lo Celso who could be with a fully fit squad, if Lo Celso is third or fourth choice creative player and Højbjerg is third or fourth choice, box to box player, like, there's not many teams in the Premier League that have got a level of player like Højbjerg who would be seventh on the midfield list. This argument that Tottenham have no depth it's been like exaggerated, but because we had so many injuries at the same time. But there's not many teams that could have coped with this. I think we're 3 players away from having a really, really good team and a little bit less bad luck with the injuries next season.
Sorry, Sean. I was just going to say, I think that's like Henry alluded to earlier. I think that's also credit to Ange. The players now understand where they need to be and how to start that attacking phase of play. Before, Conte, everyone was like deer in the headlights, just chasing back, trying to defend. Now we've got Ange. You see the fullbacks get it. They can swing the ball out wide or they can punch it through the middle. Then you start the next phase of play. Even Højbjerg now, he's much better on the half turn. Before, he always were looking to pass back. I feel like
better coaching.
Yeah, exactly. The coaching's so much better. Everyone understands their role. They know if they're not going to play forward, they're not going to start the next game. And it's just leading to so much better football. So it's also the quality of the players that we had before, but it's also the coaching that is bringing everyone up together.
Yeah.
Can I just say something as well? Because I know I've been very vocal, and I know a lot of us have been very vocal towards the owners, but the signings we've made in that 11, when you look at that 11, right? I don't know if you can bring the 11 up on the screen, or I can do it. The 11 that played today. Vicario, Porro, Van der Ven, or let's say the full strength 11 we've got.
There we go.
Vicario, Porro. Go back to the Liverpool game and bring up the Liverpool lineup.
Okay.
When we won 2-1 right at the death. See if you can bring that line up and share it on the screen.
1 second. Right. This is today's 11.
So scroll up to the top and click on Tottenham, and then scroll up to our Liverpool game. And just go up to the Liverpool. There it is. Now click on lineups. Zoom in. Right, that line up there. So in the last 18 months, every single one of those players has been signed other than Son. Right, every single one. Or let's say last 2 years. Let's say last 2 years. Other than Son. Like credit where credit's due. I don't know if any of those are bad signings. Richarlison at times is a complete. I want to just throw him at a wall.
2 goals. Right? Come on, 2 goals for Arnold.
Like every single one of those signings.
Has Richarlison's performance today changed anything with either of your?
He needs to do it consistently now. He needs to go on an 8-10 game run of 10 really good performances. Do not do anything against Forest, Everton, and Brighton, and then we're back to square one.
Mate, I'll be entirely honest. I'm hoping that those 2 goals today put him in the shop window.
Yeah, boost him like that. Like when you look at Van der Ven.
I hope that I hope that this gave him the confidence, And I hope that he scores a brace against Nottingham Forest to get us through it. And I hope he does the same against Everton. And I hope he does the same against Brighton. But
That being said,
January the 1st, if Saudi Arabia comes in and goes, I was only going to give you 20, but I'll give you 30 for him. Thank you very much, Richarlison. See you later.
Take that. What do you think, just out of interest, because I'm kind of along the same lines as you, Sean and Henry. What do you think he's missing to be the number 9 for Tottenham?
A first touch.
I don't think it's the first. I think it's the football brain to run to actually get in the right.
Confidence,
like he just can't. I don't think he has it.
Willingness to forget his misgivings. Like confidence is such a like. I'm not a psychologist, so anyone in the comments who is can tell me to shut the F up if I'm talking nonsense here. But like this idea of you're not confident enough, how much of a mentality, like a monster mentality, like he has or he doesn't have. I think that he doesn't forgive himself. I think he's so in his head. I know loads of people who beat themselves up far more than anyone else ever could for insignificant things that happen to them. I think he's like, I don't know whether I wouldn't say he's a perfectionist, but he's someone that when he makes a mistake, he doesn't just shrug it off and go, okay, on to the next. I'll get them next time. I think it dwells on him. And I think that it's like a massive anchor that he wears around his neck. He can't let things go.
Yeah.
And I think he's too volatile with his emotions to be able to get a consistent run of form out of him. He's the sort of guy that might smash it against Forest. He might take today and go, I'm so up for it. I've scored 2. I'm annoyed I didn't get my hat trick. I didn't get the chance, but you know what? I'm going to go. And he might do it against Forest because he's a talented player. But then if he doesn't, or if he gets in a series of making mistakes, it will weigh on him like an anchor. And I just can't have that. I can't have my team having such a pivotal position being dominated by a guy who can't get out of his own head. And for me, I want him to do really well until we can get rid of him. Sorry. I don't think he's ever going to shake that that mental the only thing that's holding him back is himself, is what I'm trying to say.
And I do agree with what you mean, especially on the first touch. Whenever I see him live, it feels like he doesn't just bring that ball down. Even today, I thought he plucked it out of the sky and then finished it perfectly. If you actually
his first touch, mate, his first touch was awful in that goal, wasn't it?
It kind of benefited it more because it brought him wider and the keeper was already out. But he didn't 100%. Pluck it out of the sky like I thought he did. And in previous games, when you're a number 9 as well, you either want someone who's silky, like when Foden played in the 9, or Bernardo Silva for Man City. You want someone who can pop it short, who can play it through the lines, or you want like a big hold-up striker. And he's neither. That's the only thing I would say. I think he could be all right on the left, but he doesn't really have that silkiness about him, and he definitely doesn't hold up the ball as well because he's actually not as big and strong as... He's aggressive, but I wouldn't say he's like a Vlahovic at Juventus. He's not a Harry Kane. So that's the only thing. I don't really see a role for him to start in, week out.
He's a good squad player to have in and around, but it's £60 million. Like,
it's a lot of money.
But when you look at this team that you just pulled up here, right? You look through it and you kind of go, all right, so... If Pape Sarr's out injured, you can slide in a Højbjerg, or you can slide in a Gio, or you can slide in a Bentancur. If Basuma's out, you can do the same. If Maddison's out, you can slide in a Gio, you can slide in a Deki. You've got an option there. If Richarlison's out, you can slide in a Heung-min Son, or you can slide in a Perisic, or you can do... we've got options. For the front 5, the front 6, you've got an option. For me... Where I worry a little bit in the long term, if we're really getting deep into this, is obviously we need backup. Like we don't have centre backs that are good enough on the right or the left to compete. We don't have a left back if Udogie goes out. As much as I love Ben Davies and I thought he did really well today, he really it's a significant drop off. So I think Tottenham needs to think about a left back. Even though Sessegnon's on the injury recovery list, I just don't think he's got it. And Reguilon's going to come back to us in January. I don't think he's got it necessarily. And I think on the right as well, I don't know if you lose Pedro Porro to a long-term injury, if Pedro Porro was to do his knee ligaments or his ankle ligaments, are you guys comfortable? Even if you had Maddison back, even if you got...
Fullbacks is where we don't have the depth.
Fullbacks is depth, right? So I think, I don't know if Emerson, is good enough to play the role we need from Pedro Porro.
Do you know what I'd do as well? I'd bring back Reguilon when Reguilon comes back in January. Is it
I
January?
don't know.
Comes back?
Regulon is a traditional old school fullback who gets
don't
down the
think he
byline.
plays
He doesn't want to come inside and be.
I was going to say I'd sell him and Sessegnon
Yeah.
and bring in someone else.
Yeah,
I really like who's the guy in the Championship at? Is it Leeds? I can't remember what his name is now. I'll find out in a second.
whilst you're figuring it out, the Spurs fan is in 76. Shout out to you, mate. Welcome to the membership trust. Appreciate your support, my man. Very much so. I'm not sure which membership you got, but I'm looking forward to getting to know you, mate. Very, very much so. Who got the Rush is saying, geez, tough crowd, scores 2 after the first 90 minutes. Yeah, mate, I don't know, dude. Like, one summer, one swallow. What's the thing? One swallow doesn't make a summer or something.
Yeah.
We're just talking about long term. Like, where are we trying to? If we're trying to really create depth in every position, I think our midfield is strong enough. If we can keep everybody happy, I think our midfield is good enough. I just think that there's a little bit of issues on the width and on the forwards, a little bit of issue, or definitely an issue in the 9, and then after that, the back 4 need a lot of depth. We haven't got enough. But our first 11: Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, and Udogie is competent enough for me. But where do we go after that, Jack? You know, we need improvements everywhere, don't we? In the back 4 specifically.
Definitely. I'd also argue it's hard to really realise because in different what the priority is. Because in different games, I kind of think, we must need a number 9 because Son can play out wide, and what happens if Son gets injured? But then I think today, when you've got Romero putting in those reckless challenges where he could have easily been sent off, you want someone to compete with him. So I do think it fluctuates really. But for me, the fullback situation needs to be addressed. I think Sessegnon, he just hasn't hit it off at Spurs. And how long are we going to wait for him to turn good? Potentially with a manager like Ange, who's very attacking minded, maybe Sessegnon will play better under him. Maybe he deserves 6 months. But in reality, he hasn't shown anything to show us that he deserves that opportunity, if we're being brutally honest.
Yeah.
Emerson, for me, I really like Emerson. And I never thought I'd be saying that after we signed him. I think he has got the
capability. As a right back.
Yeah, I do. And maybe not long term, but as a backup right back to Pedro Porro, he's not awful in the inverted role. He's very defensively solid. And I can't really think of that many teams in the Premier League that have got a fantastic backup anyway. I think he's more than competent.
Yeah, that's fun.
I'd rather invest in like a very good number 9 or a very good forward.
That's what we need.
Interchange, and then a backup and a centre back, maybe like a Tosin Adarabioyo from Fulham, who played fantastic today.
Scored today, didn't he?
Exactly, and we've been looking.
I don't disagree with you, actually, Jack. Like you can't have. Tottenham are not Manchester City, right? We're not in a position where we're playing enough football and have that kind of gravitas about us where you can command to have 2 or just a series of utility versatile players that are of 40, 50 million pound valuation. So I think at some point you have to shake hands with.
And even when you had Cancelo flying at Man City, and you've got Arsenal got 2 goalkeepers, you're going to rub them up the wrong way. If they both understand their role, Emerson Royale's kind of appreciated that. Everyone likes him at the club. He's probably not going to start in, week out, but everyone knows he can do a role. And that kind of works for me because at the end of the day, football, you're going to get injuries. You've got to.
It's hard to keep, though. When you only got 1 game a week, it's hard to keep players in your squad. Like, that's why Højbjerg wanted to go. Yeah. And I do think Højbjerg will go in the summer.
Just quickly, though, have we I didn't even realise this until I saw it on Twitter yesterday. Have we done a bit of a sort of idiotic move by giving Fraser Foster another year contract?
He's all right.
What's that about? What was that?
She's the homegrown player. That's the only reason.
But he can't play Ange ball. He can't kick the ball. I don't know what we're doing there. He's a bit of
who's going to be our backup goalkeeper then? Brandon Austin?
His contract wasn't going to expire until the summer, right? So I don't know why we gave him
as well in that Carabao Cup. I know it's critical on penalty saves, but he did not look like he was saving any of them.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know why because he can't dive, right? He's a big lump. I don't know. I don't understand why we gave him an extra year when.
I think it's the homegrown issues. I think they're just hoping that we're going to be better luck with injuries. I feel like you said, it wasn't a priority. Realistically, in January, you need to address the centre half problem. You need to address a number 9 if you've got someone of the likes of Ivan Toney to come in. And I'd even say maybe another like a rotational forward player like a Jota, who was at Celtic with Ange before. 3 players. 3 players.
3 players in January. Would love to see it. A striker, a forward, and a centre back, and Tottenham have got a chance. After
you bring in those three competent players. Let's say you bring in Jimenez, Tosin, and Jota, you get top 4.
Yeah, you've got to be.
I think you get top 4 over Villa because Villa will go deep into the Conference League, and Unai will focus on winning that to get his 5th European trophy. And we only have 1 game a week plus FA Cup. I think we pinch them to top 4. If we sign those 3
top
players.
5 is all we need. Top 5 is all we need, right? So
but that's depending on how other teams do. I mean, we could have a nightmare.
Let's presume that England's current European teams outperform Germany's, Italy, Spain's, and France, which I think they will. All you got to be is in the top 2 countries worth of performances, and I think they will be. So 5th place gets us Champions League. What the question mark for me though is, are we ready to take on?
If you sign those 3 in January and you get rid of the likes of Dyer, Reguilon, Sessegnon, Ndombele, all the scrubs we've got, and you bring in 2 or 3 more players in January with that Champions League money that are
the players that are already injured. Don't forget as well.
Yeah, if you could, I don't think Solomon will ever have a long-term future at this football club.
No, he'll be sold. He's an asset.
I look at Perisic, he'll be released because he's last year, and I don't think he'll probably play again for the club. He might play very, very end of the season, last game, just a farewell. You then get rid of the likes of Dyer, Ndombele,
Davies,
Reguilon, Sessegnon, just a lot of the scrubs, and you get the Champions League money, and you bring in another defender, kind of like what Arsenal have done with Timber, who can play left back, right back, centre back, and even DM.
Versatile players, yeah.
Very, very good versatile player. Because if they had him right now, I mean, he slots straight. They've bought him to play left back. Zinchenko's not long term. He's going to be sold in the summer. I think they've brought him to be their left back. You buy someone who can play multiple positions, and I still think we need more firepower. Getting that 1 injury to Son, I don't know. I think only Son and Maddison will be the only players in this team that will score more than 15 goals this season. Let me ask
you this. Last question of the night, guys. Last question of the night. Before I let you guys plug your channels and stuff. If you had £70 million to spend in January, and you got to pick 2 players, 2 signings, right?
Yep.
Do you go not free? I know you. Let's presume you can get Jota for free, and that doesn't count. 2 players, you got 70 million quid to pull, 75 million quid to work with. How do you go for it? Do you try and get a 70 million striker and then a free transfer?
Jimenez and Tosin, done. You get Tosin for 10, 15 million quid because he's got 6 months left, and you put 60 on the table for Jimenez. Done.
Okay. Jack?
I like that. I definitely agree with Tosin. I think I really like Lloyd Kelly at Bournemouth as well, but I would probably rather a backup right centre half over left centre half. And for me, instead of Jimenez, I'd probably go for an Ivan Toney. I'm not saying he's.
I don't think he's going to come though.
I know, but if you put that money on the table, and he's someone who
I think it's going to be more than 6. I think they're talking like 80 to 90 million for him.
You think so? That's absurd.
Mate, it's crazy. English tax. Brentford are going to be looking what I reckon you're talking north of 80 million for Toney.
Potentially. Yeah, you could be right. But if we're playing what about Vlahovic? It's a different type of striker. It's probably not the silky player that Postecoglou would go for, but a guaranteed goal scorer who can interplay, who's in the box. Think about the amount of crosses we put in today. It's different types of crosses. But if Brennan Johnson can sort out, in my opinion, who's been good, but can sort out his final end product, and we've got Son whipping in those balls as well as Porro coming from deep, he could easily score you 10 goals in the back end of the season as well. So could that be an interesting option? I feel like be willing to come as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Vlahovic, but I don't at the same time because his wages, we're talking like he'd come in as the highest paid player at the football club. Yeah, he's not going to come in
60 grand a week.
Apparently. We're not going to put him on more money than Son. That's not the way we. With Jimenez coming out of a league where I think he's on, what is he on, €30,000 a week?
Yeah,
something like that. He's not on a huge amount of money it's a huge amount of money, but for a footballer, it's tuppence, it's peanuts. You bring him in, now they'll be saying, oh, here we go, Janssen 2.0. Like, yes, there's always an element of risk of signing someone from the area.
Good players, good Dutch players have come out of Holland as well that weren't You know,
the thing I was going to say is he hasn't just done it in the league; he's done it in the Champions League, the Conference League, and the Europa. In Arne Slot's first year, in Jimenez's first year, they got all the way to the Conference League final, and if it wasn't for Jose, they would have won that.
As well, probably Arne Slot and Ange.
Yeah, it's rock and roll champagne football. I think it'd be a very, very good match. Good in the air, runs in behind, can hold the ball up. His goals, he's a GNA this year is like ridiculous. Like I think Michael's pretty much bang on. I would probably lean towards Tosin and Jimenez. I'd like Vlahovic. I mean, there's some things that annoy me about him, but you know, I just don't think we're going to match the 260. The only thing we could potentially do would be to offload them a player. I don't know, Undon Bele.
They like Højbjerg. Juventus. They love Højbjerg, apparently.
Yeah, if Højbjerg wanted to go there, we could say, look, we'll give you Højbjerg and 25 million quid. And then it gives us a better opportunity to give Vlahovic a big signing on fee to kind of push those wages down. Potentially like a few million quid up front. And then we put him on like 180 grand so he's under the sun or whatever it is. But like this January transfer window, I don't think we're going to get a chance like this to get in that top four in a long, long time. 1 game a week, no League Cup football. I think Newcastle have already played 9 games more than us, which is huge. By the time the FA Cup comes around, I think it will be 11 more than us. So, yeah, I mean, we're not going to get an opportunity to get in Europe like this in a long, long time, so we might as well go for it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
What I was going to quickly say is, I know, what do you not believe that we have the capability to close the gap on Liverpool and Arsenal? For me, I think it's probably too far.
Hold up, a cheeky title charge is on in Jack's mind.
But look, you know me, optimistic Jack, I like to throw it in there. I honestly, I watch all the football, and I watch Liverpool, I watch Arsenal, and I think good teams. But the football they play is not as good as our football, and I'm genuinely not saying.
I agree.
Far more chance.
Playing good football versus winning good football is different.
Games have scraped by the skin of their teeth.
I agree.
Fantastic players, but they're not gelling as well as our team is right now. Man City in the past 4 games have been winless before today. What's to say that Tottenham with a fully fit 11, if they can get past this December, cannot close the gap? I'm not saying go all the way.
You know what I'll say to you, mate, is that if Tottenham can stay within touching distance, and by that I mean within 7-8 points of Arsenal, as we get our players back, our big players back, there's no reason why we can't. Manchester City, I think, are going to go on there. They're going to, after a result like today, they're probably going to kick back in. Liverpool, I think, are getting their job done. But what I would say is teams like Arsenal, for me, if they're going to continue to rely on last-minute winners against average teams,
unsustainable,
and Arsenal fans and people that want to throw praise on them are going to stick by this narrative of that's the sign of a mentality shift. I'm like, no, if I'm honest, it's a sign of a desperate team that have enough about them to get the job done, but they should have got the job done in the previous 92 minutes. I feel like if they continue to need to beat teams in the 95th minute, Luton's and Crystal Palace's, I don't think they're going to be a title charge. But I think there's so many twists and turns. I think this particular season is so spectacularly interesting that every team from bottom to top can beat any team from bottom to top on their day.
Yeah.
As far as Tottenham goes, I think it's a little bit too soon. But I do think that if we continue to develop and improve, we have to. All I keep saying is I think Tottenham players need to learn Ange's second version of our system before the sample size of how to exploit the vulnerabilities of Ange Ball is understood by the teams that are trying to play against us. Great. Teams like Newcastle today couldn't do it. West Ham did, but that was more on Tottenham not converting chances. Aston Villa did, but that was more on Tottenham not taking chances. Wolves did, but that was more on Tottenham changing their system. Manchester City didn't, and that was because Tottenham took their chances. So I feel like every time we've lost, it's not so much because of other teams being brilliant, it's because of Tottenham's mistakes. And I think that if Tottenham can just kind of iron that stuff out, then there's no reason why we can't really kick on. But in terms of a title challenge for me, I don't think it's going to happen this year. But I would be amazed if we didn't do a bit of business now, and then in the summer, and then next year will be the best year for Tottenham fans for a long, long time, watching fantastic football and football that puts us in and about, the race. That's how I feel about it, mate. But Jack, if you feel like this is it, if you feel like we can do it now, I'm all aboard it, mate.
I do get a bit giddy sometimes.
No, I love it, mate. I love it. I'm all aboard you, mate.
What I'll just end it with, I'd say, realistically, if you put Tottenham against Arsenal at home, you put Tottenham against Man City at home, you put Tottenham against Liverpool at home, even away sometimes, I think we can go toe-to-toe, and I would expect more chances than them. Sometimes I think it's only 6 months into this process, so people need to realise how good we could be this time next year once. And
that's exactly what I mean. That's what I'm focused on.
As a backup plan as well, where it's not just full throttle, where we become a bit more, our vulnerabilities are less poignant, where we can, like, we're not going to get figured out as much. But I generally believe we can go toe-to-toe with any team in the Premier League. And that's why Anne said, believe. Why not dare to dream? You never know.
100%.
Stranger things have happened.
Well, I don't think Title Talk is on for this year for me, but I don't care if you want to do it, mate. I understand why and get behind it. Listen, guys, we're gonna round up there. Jack, you've been an absolute superstar. It's your debut on Tottenham Takes. Henry, you're always a superstar on Tottenham Takes. Deji's already left. You know everyone loves Deji. Jack, tell me what's coming up on Spurs related, mate.
Spurs related, I've got a little match day vlog. Always like to have a bit of fun at the matches. I get to speak to some great people. So just me having a bit of fun at the Spurs, watching what we all love.
Is it out already?
It's not out already. I'll come straight on here, so I'll have to edit that and then whack it up tomorrow morning. Get James to do that. And then, in the week, I'll do basically sports broadcasting and journalism at university. So I'm not always the most consistent, but I love coming on the channels. I love doing the content when I can on Spurs related. And whoever wants to chat, ask me to come on the channel, and we'll have a bit of fun.
Sensational, Jack, mate. Absolutely love you. Spurs related, guys, is in the title of the video. Make sure you get over there and show that channel some love. Him and James and Andre, absolute superstars. Henry, mate, as usual, you're part of the furniture, but where can people find you, mate?
Yeah, if you haven't already, Henry Wright TV, go on, hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow there'll probably be a video out kind of about Ange, and then there'll be Lee on the channel tomorrow talking about our Rolls Royce performance against Newcastle. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm talking about Unai Emery masterclass. Not once, but twice this week. That's going to be fun to rib in. But yeah, anyone wants to see that. And then, me and Sean up to Forest next Friday. So there'll probably be fan cams and journey videos up there. So yeah, just Henry Wright TV, obviously appreciated. As always, for having me on, Sean.
Well done, mate. Well done, boys. Shout out to Deji as well. Deji Spurs link is in the title. Guys, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much to everyone who's been, listen, we've been streaming today for about 12 hours. But massive shout out to the Spurs fan, 76, new member. Nathan, the Spurs fan, new member. To Blaine, Devlin, always, mate. I love you to pieces, buddy. To Mr. Sinclair, to Blaine again. And, of course, Blaine, special shout out to you, mate, for picking the 4-1 Richie anytime score. You gave us a 5 and we put it on for you, and it's coming like an absolute ripper dipper. Guys, I'm going to go and get myself one final beer of the evening. I'm going to go and cuddle Bugsy and tell her how we're winning the league. And that's where I'm going to finish my night, but you'll see me tomorrow morning for a walk and talk with her. And I will see you guys all on the next one. Cheers, Jack. Cheers, Henry. Thanks, everybody. Love you. Let's go. Come on, you Spurs. In Ange we trust. We never stop.